Hey guys, Tyler2K here. Today we'll be taking a look at the mechanics breakdown for Tekken 8. Please note that Tekken 8 is unreleased, so everything we see here can and might change by the time of the released product. And while I tried my best to remain completely objective for this video, video 2 will give more insight and more of my feelings on the game in general. Just like in Tekken 7, Rage automatically activates in Tekken 8 as soon as your health drops low enough. This increases the damage dealt, as well as access to a Rage Art attack. Although Rage Drives are gone, replaced by the Heat Smash mechanic that we'll talk about later. Rage Arts also now have a common input, either down forward 1+2 or R2 on the controller. With the redesign of Tekken 8, all Rage Arts appear to have new animations, and the characters seem to go outside of the bound of the screen, going in front of the health bars. And last but not least, Rage Art destroys recoverable health, and might be pivotal to close out rounds. The spin system has been updated in Tekken 8, not only from the first trailer we had seen, but actually to today as well. Namco added a vertical wind animation to signify spin, which was completely absent from the teaser trailer. Also, despite all the new system additions, spin is its own system and has no negative effect when combined with the newer mechanics. With that being said, spin appears to be nerfed in Tekken 8. Where the spin attack itself leaves you closer to your opponent, which might be good for beginners, is probably bad for everyone else. To better visualize what I mean, Tekken 8 provides more of a vertical carry, whereas Tekken 7 provides more of a horizontal one. Here are a couple of changes I noticed while watching the trailers. Paul's standing forward no longer has magic properties and causes knockdown instead of launch. Lars' dynamic entry now has a new spark animation, and his DE4 low now has a new animation, looking similar to the 1-4 kick. Throws seem to have a new damage effect, where the screen both desaturates as well as has a chromatic aberration effect at the same time. Locke now uses nunchucks normally, instead of just as an item weapon. In Tekken 8, the assist mode has actually been replaced with a more full-featured special style mode. Now you can still play in the classic arcade style mode, where there's no on-screen controls, although you can play in a hybrid style mode where you hit the L1 key to bring up the new menu. And with this special style, you can not only do one-button combos, but also one-button heat engager, one-button heat dashes, as well as a heat smash or Rage Art ender. And best of all, different combinations of buttons will actually do different combos themselves. So there's even a little room for combo expression while using special style. The major change of Tekken 8 versus all older games is the inclusion of the Heat system, and Heat was designed as an aggressive tool to allow the attacker to have more advantage. To gain Heat, you'll use either a Heat Burst or Heat Engager, and to spend your Heat, you'll either use a Heat Dash or a Heat Smash. Now we'll cover all these mechanics later in the video, so be sure to check that out. While in Heat, your character will glow white, and for 10 seconds, the meter below your health will count down. Although if you're actively attacking, hitting, or comboing your opponent, the heat meter actually freezes. Also, depending on how you activate your heat, you may have 1/8 or 2/8, giving you access to more offensive tools. Now the big elephant in the room is that the heat meter actually allows you to deal chip damage. We'll talk about this in great depth in the very next section. Recoverable Gauge is the terminology that Namco uses. This is very similar to the Red Gauge available in the Tekken Tag series. There are a few ways to gain Recoverable Gauge, or what I'll just call chip damage. From blocking certain charged power strikes, or blocking the opponent's attacks while they're using the heat system. You'll even gain Recoverable Gauge while being comboed by your opponent. To recover health lost to chip damage, you must actively attack the opponent, whether to physically hit them or get them to block your incoming attacks. The good news is you cannot be KO'd by chip damage. Instead, they must hit you with an attack to deal lethal damage. Probably the most exciting change the Heat system will bring will be the addition of character-specific options. Depending on your fighter's overarching characteristics, your Power Striker may gain access to a guard break attack, and notice how you actually use your heat gauge here. Whereas a fast character like Law, his nunchuck will then turn into a full launcher. Or in the case of a grappler like King, he may gain access to an armored throw attack. Heat Burst is one of the triggers for the heat system. It has a wide variety of uses and can even be used during a combo to create a bound effect similar to Tekken 6. To activate Heat Burst, simply hit the R1 key, and your character will do an overhead smash attack. If you're worried about your opponent reversing or parrying the attack, you can also cancel the Rage Burst animation. On hit, Rage Burst appears to be plus 2s, and despite what they said earlier, appears to be even on block, which is very evident when you take a look at the heat meter itself. When activated, Heat Burst gives you 1 heat energy, which can be used for Heat Dash or Heat Smash, which we'll talk about later. It should be noted that the bound effect of Heat Burst still allows for spin to be used in your combos. Currently, Heat Burst appears to take 15 frames to activate, with the center part of the activation being closer to a Rage Art than anything else. Notice how time freezes and Lars stuck midair before the last 2 frames of animation. We see the same effect with Paul's Heat Burst. Notice how Law is stuck midair before the final 2 frames. Heat Engager is the second trigger for Heat Mode, which requires you to hit the opponent to gain heat. This turns your normally knockdown mids into standing 50-50s instead. There are about 5 Heat Engagers per character, and on hit, Heat Engager gives you 2 meters of 8 energy. This 2 energy allows you to chain together multiple strategies, including Heat Dashes as well as a Heat Smash at the end. And speaking of which, Heat Engager seems to guarantee Heat Smash as a follow-up hit. Now we talked about how Heat Burst and Heat Engagers allows you to gain heat energy. Now let's go ahead and talk about how you can spend that energy. A Heat Dash allows you to spend 1 meter and cancel an attack on both hit and block. This allows you to chain together offense as your opponent is effectively stuck in block stun. On the other hand, when these attacks hit, if you do have meter to do a Heat Dash, you can chain together into a full combo launcher. For instance, Paul Up Forward 2 is a knockdown, but with Heat Dash becomes a launcher. And best of all, Heat Dash does not count as a spin, so you can still do that afterwards. For further examples, we see Lars Forward 4-3, which becomes a launcher when Heat Dashed, as well as Nina STFU, which would then both be safe launchers. In Tekken 8, Rage Drives are no more. Instead, they've been replaced by the new Heat system, more specifically the Heat Smash. To perform a Heat Smash, you need at least 1 8 energy. Although if you have 2 energy, it will consume both. And like the bound system of Heat Burst, you are able to use a Heat Dash and a Heat Smash in a single combo. Now the last major note is it appears that Heat Engager into Heat Smash is a natural combo. Because this is the second time that Namco has shown this mechanic, so it's likely not an accident.